So hey guys, it's David Gilmer with Pest Daily here, sitting down with Frank. For those of you that don't know, I have a huge background in residential pest control, and I'm really curious about wildlife. So Frank, can you tell me what kind of KPIs you look for in a technician to judge your performance and motivate them?
Yeah, so some key factors that I really look for right off the bat is the ability to think outside of the box. Innovation's a huge one. Just really getting into it too. You always have that 3-month, period where, whoever you hire is going to kind of be motivated.
Right.
And after that, you kind of wait to see, are they going to continue acting the same? But what you'll notice is attitude is absolutely everything. So if you have somebody with a great attitude, you could build off of that no matter what.
When you're recruiting and hiring, are there any certain characteristics that you look for that'll define a good wildlife technician?
Man, you would really think that you're going to find like some master carpenter or something like that. But what I found really is it's just, a random person shows up. They have a great attitude. They're willing to do the work.
Yeah.
And somebody that's willing to learn. Getting up every time you fall, that's huge in our industry, because it allows you to learn and to grow. The best technicians I've seen were actually super bad at first, including myself. When I started my career, I was terrible at my job.
Right.
But if you see the attitude, right, and they're continuing to try to grow, eventually that technician will be excellent at what they do if you're teaching them.
So how do you determine how long your jobs are going to take when you're setting up their day? Because it's completely different from running like 12 pest control stops.
Right. So we actually learned through the trial and error, right? I kind of had to sell the jobs at first, right? So I knew about how long it would take. But then it became like, how do you impart that into somebody else and repeat it?
Yeah.
That's always something that the LaJaunie's like, all right, well, how do you scale this, right? So what I found is partnering with people, right? So like me and Heath, we make a great team because Heath will call me and he'll be like, how long does this job take? Now, there's two things that I look at and I'm like, hey, how long is this job going to take? It's going to really depend on the experience of the technicians, whether it's going to be me or somebody else, right? And then you have to realize that you're not always going to be the one on the job.
Right.
So I usually give about a half-day grace period. And, certain jobs like we sell a trench guard service. And, that job is a 2-day minimum. Right. And then per linear foot, I think we 50 linear feet per day.
Okay. So if you had to pick, 3 KPIs to really judge performance of a wildlife technician, what would those 3 KPIs?
Attitude, innovation, critical thinking.
Okay, perfect. Are there any measurable KPIs like time on site or average sale per day? Because it's completely, on the wildlife side, it's completely different from residential versus, on-time site delivery or anything like that.
Well, there are. So I go behind a lot of our technicians. So for quality control, just make sure they're doing their job. And I'd say the quality of work they're doing, anything that you do repetitively, you're going to get really good at, right? And you're going to get better. You're going to find those little processes with what you're doing, right? So what I'll find is, all right, a technician's really good at this high ladder stuff. He has a great process for it. And I'll have them go on those jobs specifically.
Yeah.
Trench jobs, you're digging a lot. You have a specific process for that. So really building processes into every single thing is how you're going to get that.
Awesome. Now, let's talk about safety. So one thing that stopped me from getting into wildlife was the safety factor. You mentioned ladders. I get nervous anytime I think about a technician 20, 30 feet up in the air.
Right.
How do you install a good safety culture with the amount of risk that you have?
It really starts with me.
Yeah.
Right. So the guys are going to look at me for everything and what I'm doing and how I'm going about it. Now, I tell them all the time, I actually am afraid of heights. I've just been doing it so long that I'm confident in my abilities. Right. So when I go out on the job, I'm constantly preaching, this is how you carry a ladder, right? This is how you set up your ladder, and not to get complacent, because just being in this industry, I've seen plenty of guys that got complacent and comfortable, and that's where mistakes happen.
Yeah. So how long does it take once you get a guy hired and trained? How long will it take them to be out on their own and you feel confident that you don't have to go back out and check their work anymore?
That varies from the technician. I've had guys that showed up in like 2-3 months and they just got it, quick learners. And then I have one of my best technicians now, shout out Joby. He was a slow learner, at first I really wasn't sure if he was going to make it, and now he's really killing it. I mean, the guy is a production machine. He's really great at working at heights, and he's learning. So, I mean, you could gain a customer that's your customer for life, and you could really upset a customer very fast, depending on your work. So it does matter, the quality of work you're putting out there. So for me to be able to trust my guys to do it, I'm telling them to do without me being there.
Yeah.
It's so crucial, because that customer, they're not just going to be the customer for that time. They'll be our customer when they have something go on the roof, right? That's why it's special. Mm-hmm. We do a walkthrough after every exclusion that we do with the customer, and I'm able to, portray our confidence in our product, right? And they're seeing it and they're getting that wow factor.
Right.
And then you're also saying like, hey, if you come across anything, give us a call. We'll come out and we'll take care of you.
Yeah.
And that leaves a long-lasting impression. We've done whole neighborhoods in the New Orleans area off of one happy customer.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about your favorite type of wildlife service that if you could do it all day long, that's the one you're going to sell, that's the one you're going to do.
Man, I can't think of any. No. I'd say we have perfected the trench. You have a lot of piered homes in the New Orleans area, and we have a bad rodent issue in that area, and we have a very high success rate. We have a process that's very good for it, and we've really refined it over my 3 years here of helping grow this department. You'll find I came down here, from New York with all this different experience, different homes, different infrastructure, right? And you learn and you build on it. And then, being here at the conference, you talk with people, they might have one step in that, that changes everything.
Yeah.
It turns a 2-day job into maybe a day and a half.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you really get better at it.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Frank. I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah. It was
Good to meet you.
Thank you.
See you guys.